Just confirm me that the screen is visible in, screen share mode. Just confirm me that so that I can begin the class. Any one of you can just give a thumbs up. Okay, sure. Thank you. So let's begin the class. I hope you all had a good day and had your tea and freshen up. Everything has been over and we'll start the class. So today the revision class is of life process. Do you all know what is meant by life process? Just give a quick reply. What is life process? Expecting a quick reply. What is life process? This is the first chapter in biology and you're quite familiar, right? It's a very easy chapter and everyone might know what is life process. Yeah, very good. We received a few answers which says that life process is the process which are essential for the maintenance of a life. Okay. So in living organisms, life process are of different, there are different life process. Okay. You can see here, these are the 4 different life process which we'll be discussing today. Okay. So first is nutrition, second transportation, respiration, third is transportation, and the 4th is excretion. So these are the 4 life processes. Now, can anyone tell me why reproduction is not included as a life process here? Why we have not included reproduction here? Can anyone just tell me? Okay, so these are the important life process we'll be dealing today. So first we'll start with nutrition. So I'm still waiting, I'm still waiting why reproduction is not included. Yes, very good. It's not necessary for the survival of an organism. Life process is something which is very necessary for the survival of an organism. And these 4 processes, they're interconnected also. Nutrition is interconnected with respiration. Respiration is interconnected with transportation. And then similarly, all 3 is interconnected with excretion. So all these processes are interconnected. We'll start with the process of nutrition. If you just see, nutrition is a process of taking nutrients into our body. So it's a process of taking nutrients into our body. We all know that, okay? And every morning, afternoon, evening, we take nutrients into our body. That process of taking nutrients is known as nutrition. So nutrition is basically of 2 types. One is autotrophic nutrition and the other one is heterotropic nutrition. You can see autotrophic nutrition means the nutrition, the process of nutrition in which organisms prepare their own food. Okay, they prepare their own food, and this is done by, can you tell me which organism prepare their own food? Which organism prepare their own food? Just try to guess. This is very simple. We are learning. Yes, they are green plants. Green plants are organisms that prepare their own food. Hence, they are under autotrophic nutrition. Whereas heterotrophic nutritions are organisms that obtain their food from other sources. It can be from plants or animals. They obtain food from other sources. Hence, they are known as heterotrophic. That kind of process is known as heterotrophic nutrition. So we'll be studying both in detail, that is autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. You can see autotrophic nutrition means the process of photosynthesis. Here, the nutrients is obtained by the process of photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, 3 things you have to keep in mind in photosynthesis. One is the raw material which is required. So the raw material required are carbon dioxide, mineral, and water. These are the raw material required. Most importantly, carbon dioxide and water are the raw material required for photosynthesis. Okay, and the products formed during photosynthesis are oxygen and sugar. So whenever a question is asked, what are the products of photosynthesis? You have to first write the most important product, that is sugar. Sugar is the most important product. Second, oxygen is considered as a byproduct. Okay, byproduct means a product, actually the product which is to be formed is sugar. Along with that, there's an extra product getting released. That extra product is oxygen. And if we write a proper equation, we give water also as a byproduct. You know, we write that 6 carbon dioxide plus 12 water molecules together gives 1 sugar molecule, 6 oxygen molecule, and 6 water molecule. That's the exact process of photosynthesis. Now, the raw material we have understood. In this means apart from raw material, it also requires light source, and the light source is the ultimate sun. Ultimate sun is the light source in photosynthesis. Now, apart from light source, it also requires chlorophyll molecule, and this chlorophyll molecule is present in a special organelle which is present only inside a green plant, and that special organelle is the chloroplast. Okay, chloroplast is the special organelle which is present only in the green plants, and that chloroplast has the pigment called chlorophyll, which is also required for photosynthesis. So I hope it is clear what are the raw materials of photosynthesis, what all things are required apart from raw material. One is light and the other one is chlorophyll molecule. Okay, is it clear till here? And we also know what are the products produced. Products are sugar and the byproduct is oxygen. Okay. Now you can see here, these are the important processes that is taking place during photosynthesis. You will be asked a question, what are the events of photosynthesis? Please note, there will be a question, what are the events of photosynthesis? And you have to write 3 events. Okay. One is the absorption of solar radiation. Absorption of solar radiation is the first event taking place. So here what happens? Sunlight is absorbed by the green parts of the plant. Okay, who absorbs the sunlight? The green parts of the plant. Second thing that takes place is photolysis of water. Can anyone tell me what is photolysis? Photolysis. There's a word photosynthesis. There's a word photolysis. What is photo here? Is that the photo which is meaning like what we click in cameras? Is that the photo they are using? Yes, one answer I have got it right. Yes, yes. So most of them have already studied this chapter and they're giving correct answers. So photo means light. Lysis means breaking. So here what happens when light falls on the plant, that is inside the chloroplast, the water present there breaks. Okay, the water splits. Okay, so photolysis of water means splitting of water in the presence of light. So the next event is photolysis of water. By the photolysis of water only oxygen is produced. So you have to keep it in mind. You know, this question is always asked, how is oxygen produced during the process of photosynthesis? It's very easy because of the photolysis of water. Okay, so is it clear how is oxygen produced? First event we have seen that absorption of solar radiation. Solar radiation was absorbed. Second, we have seen that the photolysis of water has taken place. That is, the water has been broken into 2. That is hydrogen molecule and oxygen molecule. Okay. Now what happened next is reduction of carbon dioxide. The third thing is reduction of carbon dioxide. Reduction. You know what is reduction? In simple term, what is reduction? Anyone knows what is reduction? Let me see. Reduction. Okay. Reduction means, simply we say the chemistry of reduction means adding of hydrogen. Okay. So there's a carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, we know that the molecular formula of carbon dioxide is CO2, right? The molecular formula of carbon dioxide is CO2. And the molecular formula of sugar is CHO. Okay, the formula CHO, that is C6H12O6. Now this hydrogen has to be added in the carbon dioxide to make it a sugar. Okay, so that addition of hydrogen is known as reduction. Okay, so now is it clear what is reduction? Why we are saying it is reduction of carbon dioxide? Is it clear? Just give me a thumbs up if it is clear. Okay, very good. So reduction, 3 events take place during the process of photosynthesis. One is absorption of solar radiation. Second is the using this solar radiation splitting of water, okay, photolysis of water. And the third process is reduction of carbon dioxide. So this was about the autotrophic nutrition processes. Now, for the gases to enter, for the carbon dioxide to enter, there's a opening in the leaf, and that opening is the stomata. Stomata is the opening in the leaf that help in the intake of gas, okay, exchange of gas. That is, carbon dioxide will come in and oxygen will move out through stomata. And this opening and closing of stomata is controlled by water, okay. When the water get inside the guard cells, the stomata open, and when the water goes out, the stomata closes, okay. So there's a question, we'll solve questions and we'll revise the concepts accordingly, okay. Now see, there's a question here, opening and closing of stomata. Once again, opening and closing of stomata is due to, opening and closing of stomata is due to, what will be the answer here? High pressure of gases inside the cell, movement of water in and out of the guard cell, stimulus of light in the guard cell, or due to diffusion of carbon dioxide in and out of the guard cell. Okay, I got all the answer. Very good. Everyone has answered it as B, movement of water in and out of the guard cell. This is why now you can see here in this picture, the stomata is open here in the first picture, and you can see the water molecules are inside the guard cell. When the water molecules are inside the guard cell, the stomata opens, okay. And when the water molecule moves out of the guard cell, the guard cells become flaccid and the stomata closes, okay. So during daytime, the guard cells are turgid and hence the stomata remains open, whereas during night time, all the water goes out and the guard cells become flaccid. Because of that, the stomata closes, okay. So everyone has answered B. That's a good, I can see that everyone is prepared and they're very interested. They're very active also. Now the next question, you see two green plants are kept separately in oxygen-free containers, one in the dark and other in sunlight. It was observed that plant kept in dark could not survive longer. Give the reason for this observation. What is the reason why the plant kept in dark didn't survive? Quick, let the answer come. Yes, very good. The answers has already come up. So it is because light is necessary. As I told you, water and carbon dioxide are the raw material. They have said that it is oxygen free. Photosynthesis doesn't require any oxygen. If it is oxygen free, fine. They require only carbon dioxide and water. These are the raw material. But apart from that, the essential thing is light. Because the plant was kept in the dark room, there's no light, no photosynthesis has taken place. Okay. So this question was also clear. Now, a student is observing the temporary moult of a leaf peel under a microscope. Draw label diagram of the structure of stomata as seen under the microscope. Now, these questions, students, these questions are taken from previous year question paper. So this question, that is label diagram, was asked in previous year questions. So please note that the diagrams should be clear. Okay, the diagram of stomata and the part should be clear. Now you can see this is the diagram of stomata. You don't have to learn all the parts, but you need to learn some of the part. One, the kidney shaped cells are guard cells. Okay, the kidney shaped cells are known as guard cells. The opening between these guard cells, when we draw a guard cell, the opening in between this guard cell, we call it as stoma, not stroma. There's no R there. It is known as stoma. Okay. And the cells which are surrounding the guard cells are the subsidiary cells. So if you label these three parts, it's enough. Okay. So what you need to do, draw the diagram of the structure of stomata and then label the important parts. So these are the three parts you need to label there. So one thing, we have to make sure that all the diagrams to be clear and at least the important parts has to be labeled. Okay. So one question, this question is taken from previous year question paper. So this type of questions are very common. Now next we'll see the heterotrophic nutritions. Now what is meant by heterotrophic nutrition? I have already mentioned. Heterotrophic nutrition means the process of nutrition where we obtain food from other sources. Now you can see here There are different types of heterotrophic nutrition. One is saprophytic nutrition, parasitic nutrition, and holozoic nutrition. What is saprophytic nutrition? It is commonly seen in fungi. What is the saprophytic kind of nutrition? Just tell me, what is the saprophytic kind of nutrition? I'm waiting for the answer. Saprophytic type of nutrition. Okay. Saprophytic type of nutrition mainly means feeding on all dead organism. Fine. So what they do is they release enzyme from the body. They release the digestive enzyme from the body outside the food. Okay, food material, whatever it is. So they release their digestive enzyme there. After digesting the food outside, they absorb it. Okay, that is how they consume this saprophytes. That is how they consume. Okay, and they consume all the dead remains and they consume in this format. Example, fungi. Whereas parasitic nutrients, if you see, it is entirely different from saprophytic. You can say that it is opposite because saprophytes are depending on dead remains. Okay, whereas parasites depends on living organisms. Okay, they live on the living host. As we can see, hair lice, or inside our body there are tapeworms. Okay, so these are all parasites. They live in a living host. They obtain nutrients from a living host. Now, what is holozoic? Humans are also undergoing holozoic nutrients. Many animals undergo holozoic nutrients. What is holozoic nutrient? Just tell me, what is holozoic? How we take in nutrients? Just imagine how we take in nutrients. Yes, very good. I got the answer. So it is like we consume it as a whole. Okay, we have seen that in case of saprophytes, they digest and they absorb. In case of parasites, they live on the body of host and absorb the nutrients. Whereas in holozoic, we take the whole nutrient as such and digest it inside the body. Okay, we digest it inside the body. Hence, humans and many of the animals are example of this holozoic nutrients. But if you see, as the level increases from unicellular to multicellular, you'll be finding lot of complexity arising in this nutrients. Okay, now first, food intake in unicellular organism. First, you see in amoeba. In amoeba, what happened? The pseudopodias help to trap the food, and inside the food vacuoles, the food get digested and released out. Now, in case of paramecium, here in case of amoeba, the whole body surface takes in food. Okay, wherever food is seen, if the food is seen here also it can take in food. So the whole body surface can take in food. But in case of paramecium, if you see, paramecium cannot take food from whole body. Okay, it has a special opening, and from that opening only it takes in the food. Okay, and then the food gets circulated while digestion. Okay, this is how simple it is in case of unicellular organism. The food intake in case of unicellular organism is very simple, but in case of multicellular organism, it is very different and very complex. Okay, the different types of heterotrophic nutrition, I haven't seen any question from there, but you can be prepared. Any one-word question can be asked. Okay, in the previous year news question papers, I haven't seen any question asked in that zone. Okay, now you can see nutrients in humans. It's very important. Okay, from here lot of questions are being asked. So if you see in humans, what happens? First, we take in food through mouth. Inside the mouth itself, the digestion starts. We start chewing the food. When we chew the food, the saliva which is produced in our mouth start releasing enzymes which helps to digest food. So the saliva has salivary amylase. And what does salivary amylase do? This salivary amylase digests the starch into sugar, that is maltose. Okay. Then when the food slowly reaches from the mouth to the esophagus, in the esophagus, no digestion takes place. Nothing takes place, only the food passes down. So the first thing in mouth, salivary amylase, digest the food a little, not complete digestion, but just initiation of digestion take place. And then in the esophagus, no digestion take place, okay? Only the movement of food take place. One thing you should remember, the movement of food take place in peristaltic way. That is the wavy way, okay? Peristaltic way means the wavy way, okay? The food goes in a wavy manner, okay? In this manner, the food travels through the esophagus and no digestion take place there. Then when it reaches the stomach, it stays there, okay? It stays there because many events take place here inside the stomach. Inside the stomach, it's a sac-like structure. It secretes it secretes a gastric juice, and inside the gastric juice, there are three components, okay? There's mucus, which protects the lining of the stomach. There is HCl, which make the food little acidic and digest all the bacteria that is entering. And there is pepsin, okay? In the name itself, it says pepsin, which digests the protein. After this process, after the churning in the stomach, mixing with the gastric juice, the food slowly passes through the duodenum. When it passes through the duodenum, the liver secretes its juice called bile, and the pancreas secretes its juice called pancreatic juice. Okay, this juice gets mixed with the food which is coming from the stomach. And here also, these juice plays important role. We'll see what are their roles there. Then when it reaches the intestine, the complete digestion takes place in the intestine. Intestine is a very important organ because there the complete digestion and absorption take place. Not only digestion, but also absorption take place in the intestine. Once complete digestion and absorption is done, the food moves through the large intestine and gets stored in the rectum. Do you know what absorption take place in the large intestine? Complete digestion and absorption take place in the small intestine, I told you. But some absorption also occurs in large intestine. Yes, okay, very good. I got the answer there. So absorption of excess of water, okay, when the food from small intestine reaches the large intestine, it will be in a very liquid form, okay, not food we can say, it's waste that reaches the large intestine. It's very liquid form, okay, all the water get absorbed in the large intestine and the waste becomes semi-solid. Now we'll move on to the next slide. See, these are the enzymes of digestion. You can take a screenshot of the slide. These are the important enzymes of digestion. One is salivary amylase. Salivary amylase, it is secreted by salivary gland. What it does, it converts starch to sugar. I have seen many questions being asked from this point, okay, from the enzyme part. So you can just take a screenshot and keep. This is very important. Another thing, pepsin is another enzyme. I told you stomach has gastric juice which contains three components: HCl, mucus, and pepsin. Pepsin in the stomach converts protein to peptides. Okay, protein to peptide. Peptides are not cannot be absorbed. It has to be later again broken down. But for now, only up to peptides. And then there's another enzyme produced by pancreas, which is trypsin. Trypsin is an enzyme produced by pancreas, and trypsin also does the similar work as pepsin. What it does, it breaks protein to peptide. So here also protein is broken into smaller form, but not complete absorbable form. Okay. And then in the pancreas, there's also another two enzymes. One is amylase. Amylase we have already studied. It breaks starch to sugar. Then we have lipase. This is the enzyme which we are hearing first time, right? What lipase do? Lipase digests the fat. Okay, lipase digests fat. Okay, it digests the lipid to fatty acids and glycerol. Then I told you that liver secretes bile juice. Bile juice is alkaline in nature. Now, in the stomach, I told that HCl is secreted. So when the food is in the stomach, food get very acidic. Okay, food get very acidic in the stomach because of the HCl. Now, when it reaches the duodenum, this bile juice, which is alkaline, neutralizes the food and make it little alkaline. Okay, the acidic food which is coming from the stomach get alkaline in by mixing with the bile juice. Now, apart from that, bile juice also helps in the emulsification of fat. Can anyone say me what is emulsification of fat? Emulsification of fat. Emulsification. So what is mean by that? Yes, I got lot of replies. That's great actually. So emulsification means breaking the large fat molecules into small globules. One thing you need to notice here, no digestion is taking place. Okay, no digestion is taking place. Only the fat molecules are broken down into small molecules. Okay, there's no digestion. So don't write that digestion of fat is taking place. Digestion of fat is not taking place. Only the large globules of fats are broken down into small globules. Okay, later on this lipases actually helps in the digestion of fat. And then comes the small intestine enzymes. Small intestine enzymes are lipases, peptidases, sucrases, invertases. So what they do, we'll see. Lipases, they break the fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Only fatty acids and glycerol can be absorbed by the body. Okay, small intestine can absorb only fatty acids and glycerol. Similarly, peptidases, what it does, you can note down, it break down peptides into amino acid. Amino acid can be absorbed by the body. Similarly, sucrase break down the sucrose sugar. Sucrose sugar has two monosaccharides in that. Okay, glucose and fructose. So it helps to break down the sucrose sugar. Invertase, again, it helps to break down the sucrose sugar. It also has maltase, which helps to break down maltose. Okay, so these are the different enzymes and these are the function. So in the small intestine, whatever enzymes are present, they actually help in the final breakdown. They actually help in the formation of simple molecules. Hence, we say that complete digestion takes place inside the small intestine. Okay, so is it clear? Now let's see a question. The inner wall of the small intestine have finger-like projection called villi, which are rich in blood. These villi have a large surface area to help the small intestine in completing the digestion of food. Now tell me, is the assertion coming with the correct reason? Is the reason correct? The inner walls of the small intestine has finger-like projection. We know, we call it as villi. Okay, which are rich in blood. Why they are rich in blood? Why they are rich in blood? Now this villi have large surface area to help small intestine in completing the digestion process. Both are correct actually. Both are correct because villi have finger-like structure which increases the surface area and all. Both are correct. But the reason is not the correct reason. Okay, because they are saying which are rich in blood. Why it is rich in blood? Because it helps in the absorption. Okay, not because it helps to give large surface area, because it helps in absorption. Rich blood helps in absorption and carrying it to the different parts of the body. That should be the reason, not the surface area. Is it okay? So the answer will be both are correct, but R is not the correct reason for the assertion. Okay. Now, why do herbivores need longer small intestine as compared to that of carnivores? Why do herbivores need longer small intestines? See, it takes lot of time to digest the raw food. Okay, raw food. Herbivores eat the raw food, right? The cellulose that are present in the cell wall of leaves or plant cells. Okay, so these are very hard to digest. So they take a longer time so that the food remain in the intestine for a long period of time and get digested properly. Whereas in case of carnivore, you can see they are consuming flesh. Flesh doesn't have that cell wall. They doesn't have that cellulose. Okay. So they need only less amount of time. The enzyme need to work only less amount of time to complete the process of digestion. Okay. Now, list 3 types of substance secreted by gastric glands. I have already told you 3 types of substance secreted by gastric glands. One is mucus, second one is HCl, and the third one is pepsin. Okay, and the functions also you all know. What are the functions, right? Next, we'll move. How does paramecium obtains its food? How does paramecium obtain? How does paramecium obtain? Paramecium undergo holozoic nutrients. Okay, it obtain the whole food by a single opening. They have that single opening through which they obtain the food, not like amoeba that absorb through the whole body surface. Now, next they are asking the role of each of the following. I told you that the enzymes are very important. Hence, you can see now we have seen 2 questions related to the enzyme. Again, they are asking the role of hydrochloric acid. We know that it is hydrochloric acid helps to kill the bacteria entering. Okay, trypsin. What trypsin do? It break down protein to peptide. Muscular walls of stomach. Muscular walls of stomach. It helps in the process of chyme. Okay, it helps in making the food into chyme. Then salivary amylase. It break down starch to sugars. Now next we'll see respiration. Okay, we'll be a little quick because it's time is going on. Do you have next class at 7? Okay, so we'll fasten a little. Okay. Now respiration. Respiration, we all know that it is a process of obtaining nutrients. Energy. We have already got the nutrients. Now we need energy, right? The nutrients has been absorbed. Now we need energy. The nutrients to be broken and the energy has to be released. And this energy is used for many of the metabolic activities taking place in our body. So respiration is the process by which the trapped energy inside the nutrients get released. Okay, it can be both in the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen. So if it is in the presence of oxygen, we call it as aerobic respiration. If it is in the absence of oxygen, we call it as anaerobic respiration. Now, in case of plants, animals, most of this higher organism, you'll be finding aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration is seen in lower organism like bacteria. Okay. Now, aerobic respiration, you can see what happens here is it takes place in presence of oxygen. Half of the process, that is glucose breakdown into pyruvic acid, till here it takes place in all the organism, in aerobic as well as in anaerobic. Now, in aerobic, again the pyruvic acid will get broken down into carbon dioxide, water, and energy inside mitochondria. Okay, if it is in the presence of oxygen. But in the absence of oxygen, anaerobic respiration takes place. So here also pyruvic acid is formed, but pyruvic acid will not break down into carbon dioxide, water, and energy. It will break down into ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy in case of yeast, okay, in case of plants and all. But it will break down into lactic acid and energy in case of muscle cells. Okay, so in animals, in humans, when we run a lot, we usually do aerobic respiration, but to obtain more energy, we switch on to anaerobic respiration also. Means both are taking place, aerobic as well as anaerobic. So at the time, what happens? Lactic acids get produced and this lactic acid get accumulated in our muscles. So you know, when you keep on running, after running, you feel muscle fatigue, right? That's because the lactic acid gets accumulated in our muscles, and within 2-3 days, slowly the lactic acids get removed from the muscles and our pain get reduced. Okay. Now, if you see breathing, for oxygen to get inside our body, we need to breathe. Okay, we need to breathe. In plants, they have stomata. They can actually take in oxygen directly. But for us, there's no stomata in our whole body. So we need to breathe. There's a opening to breathe in air. Okay, so through nose, it goes into the trachea. From the bronchi, it goes to bronchiole and to the alveoli. In the alveoli, the blood vessel comes and exchange the gases. Here, you need to keep in mind that no exchange, one-way exchange doesn't take place. The blood has to give carbon dioxide, only then the alveoli gives oxygen. Okay. Now here you can see, whereas in plants, it's like during daytime what happens, they take in carbon dioxide a lot and they release oxygen because photosynthesis is taking place. Now, one thing you have to remember, respiration doesn't take place only at night. It takes place all day, okay? So there might be a tricky question, when does respiration take place in plants? Okay, don't write it that it takes place at night. It takes place the whole day, but the amount of carbon dioxide that is being released through respiration is very less, okay? So we give more focus on oxygen is produced during day and carbon dioxide is produced during night. During night, what happened? Photosynthesis is not at all taking place. Only carbon dioxide is being released. But don't forget, during day also respiration is taking place. One difference between photosynthesis and respiration is the major difference. Respiration takes place in all organisms. Whether it be bacteria, plants, or humans, it takes place in all organisms, okay? Whereas photosynthesis occurs only in green organisms, that is green plants, okay? Not green organism, green or photosynthetic plants, okay? Now we'll see one experiment. In the experimental setup, to show that carbon dioxide is given out during respiration, name the substance taken in the small test tube kept in the conical flask. What substance is taken in the conical flask in the experiment to show carbon dioxide is given during respiration? Okay. Carbon dioxide is given out during respiration. Name the substance taken in the small test tube kept in the conical flask. Small test tube kept in the conical flask. That is KOH. Okay, KOH. Okay, potassium hydroxide. What does potassium hydroxide do? The potassium hydroxide consume all the, sorry, here I think there's a small question problem. Here they are asking about respiration, right? So in respiration, if it is an experiment being done for by giving out carbon dioxide, means by releasing air, you need to write it as lime water. Okay, lime water, that is CaOH, calcium hydroxide. If it is plant, in plant they ask that carbon dioxide is necessary to show that during photosynthesis carbon dioxide is necessary. At that time we have to write KOH, that is potassium hydroxide. What potassium hydroxide do? They absorb the carbon dioxide. So if there is no carbon dioxide in the conical flask, no photosynthesis will take place. But here they are asking about carbon dioxide is given out during the process of respiration. So at that time, that will be CaOH, that is lime water. CaO we call it as lime and CaOH we call it as lime water. In the test tube, when carbon dioxide is exhaled, what happens? The color of the lime water changes into milky. It turns into calcium carbonate, CaCO3. Okay, it turns into calcium carbonate. Is it fine? So lime water is used here. CaOH. Okay, OH twice. Okay, CaOH twice is used here. Okay, that is lime water. That's not the lime water which we use. Okay, this lime water is different. Okay. Now next, why is there a difference in the rate of breathing between aquatic organism and terrestrial organism? In case of aquatic organism have to use dissolved oxygen, right? So the dissolved oxygen is very less. In the water, the amount of oxygen is very less. So they have to breathe very fast so that they can get the required oxygen. Whereas in terrestrial organism, they'll take it directly oxygen from the atmosphere. So they don't have to breathe very fast, okay? Because the atmosphere already has much amount of oxygen. Now draw a diagram of human respiratory system and label means pharynx, trachea, lungs, diaphragm, everything you need to label. So again, I told you in the first diagrammatic question itself that you need to revise the diagrams. Okay, revise the diagram, revise how to label the parts, because any of the diagram can be asked. If this year they have asked respiratory system, obviously next year they'll ask the digestive system. Okay, so diagrams will be asked. Write two different ways in which glucose is oxidized to produce energy in human body. Two different ways. What are the two different ways? One is in human body they have asked. Okay, so one way is by aerobic respiration. Okay, pyruvic acid break down to carbon dioxide, water and energy. And the second way is by anaerobic respiration, that is pyruvic acid breaking down into lactic acid and energy. Now again, assertion has come in human beings. When air is taken into the body through the nostrils and passed through the throat, the air passage does not collapse. Why? The reason is ring of cartilage present in the throat ensures that the passage does not collapse. Is it right? Is the assertion right with the reason? Yes, the assertion is right with the reason, and the explanation of the reason is also correct. Okay, so the answer will be first. Both assertion and reasons are true, and reason is the right explanation of the assertion. Next, we'll see transportation. Okay, now in transportation, mostly we'll be seeing first transportation in human, and then we'll see the transportation in plant. Transportation in human requires three most important components. One is the blood, another is the heart, and the third is the blood vessel. Along with that, we also required one tissue fluid, which we call it as lymph. So blood, we know that we have two components in blood. One is plasma and the other one is cellular components. Can anyone tell me what are the different cellular components in the blood? What are the different cellular components in a blood? Yes, RBC, WBC as well as platelets. Okay. So plasma and blood cellular components, they help in the transport. Again, heart is very important because heart facilitates the transport. Heart is a pump. And the blood, if the blood has to be pumped to all over the body, the heart facilitates the transport. Then we have blood vessels. In our body, blood doesn't flow throughout the body. Okay, it's not completely, the body is not completely covered with blood. Blood flows through small tubes, and that tubes are known as blood vessels. So these are the three important components of a transport in humans. Along with that, we have lymph. Lymph also helps in transport, but very what we say, not like much function it has. It has important function in the transport of lipids, fats, okay, and it has function in the defense. Okay, it helps the body to fight against diseases. Now you can see heart. Now if I quickly say about the structure and function of heart, what happens here is the first thing. Here you can see the vena cavas. Okay, here you can see there's a superior vena cava and there's an inferior vena cava. Okay, so superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. In this superior and inferior vena cava, okay, so we have seen superior vena cava, we have seen inferior vena cava. These superior and inferior vena cava bring impure blood from the top part of the body and from the lower part of the body. It brings the impure blood. Okay, impure blood comes from the superior and inferior vena cava. It reaches the right atrium. After reaching the right atrium, when the right atrium fills, the valves open and the blood goes to the right ventricle. Okay, the right atrium, impure blood comes. We call it as deoxygenated blood. It goes into the right ventricle, and from the right ventricle, through pulmonary artery, okay. So why do the blood go to the lungs? Why do the blood go to the lungs? It goes to the lungs for oxygenation. Okay, the blood goes to the lung for oxygenation. After getting oxygenated through pulmonary veins, the blood comes back to the left atrium, and from the left atrium it goes to the left ventricle, and from left ventricle through the largest artery, we call this aorta as the largest artery, it gets circulated all over the body. This is how circulation takes place in our heart. Okay, inside our heart, you can see here. So what happens from the vena cava? The blood reaches the right atrium. From the right atrium, the blood goes to the right ventricle, and from right ventricle, the blood goes directly to the lungs. Okay, and in the lungs, it gets oxygenated. After getting oxygenated, it reaches the left atrium, comes to the left ventricle, and get transported to all parts of the body. You can see it goes to the stomach, liver, kidney, to body tissues, to brain, everywhere. Okay. So this is how it takes place. Now, you might have noticed that the blood is entering the heart twice. Once from vena cavas, another from veins. Okay, that is pulmonary veins. It is entering the heart twice and it is leaving the heart twice. Once from pulmonary artery and the other from aorta. So when it enters the heart twice and leaves the heart twice, we call it as double circulation. Now, what is double circulation? They have asked here the first question. Now you all understood what is double circulation. Okay. Now, why is separation of right and left side of the heart useful? Tell me why it is useful. Separation of left and right side of the heart, why it is useful? Because to prevent the intermixing of deoxygenated and oxygenated blood. Okay, it is to prevent the intermixing of deoxygenated and oxygenated blood. And it is required. You must see that in reptiles, in amphibians, in fishes, there is no such separation. Because they don't require that much amount of energy how much birds and mammals require. Birds and mammals require more energy because they have to keep their body warm as well. Okay, so to keep their body warm, they require more amount of energy, more amount of temperature, oxygen. Okay, so because of that, the separation is needed. Whereas in lower, if you see fishes, amphibians and reptiles, in cold-blooded organism, this separation is not seen. Now, what is the other name of tissue fluid? I have already said what is the other name of tissue fluid. What is the other name of tissue fluid? It is lymph. Okay, lymph is the other name of tissue fluid. Write it two function. One is it helps in the defense. Okay, second, it helps in the absorption of digested fats, that is fatty acids and glycerol, because blood vessels cannot absorb fatty acids and glycerol. Hence, this work is done by lymph. So, two function, defense and absorption of fatty acids and glycerol. Okay. Now, why do arteries have thick elastic wall? There are arteries and veins. If you see arteries have thick walls, but veins have thin walls. Why do arteries have thick walls and veins have thin walls? Okay, so when heart pumps the blood reaching the arteries will be in very high pressure. Okay, it will be in very high pressure. Because of this high pressure, the walls are thick to maintain the wall strength. Okay, if it is thin wall, the high pressure, because of high pressure, the thin wall would break, right? So thick wall is to maintain the pressure. Okay, to maintain the pressure, the arteries walls are thick. So you can remember that. Even the second next question can be why the walls of veins are thin. So because they have low pressure in them. Name the molecules of energy which is synthesized during respiration. So what is the molecules of energy that is synthesized during respiration? We haven't discussed the molecule name yet. So can you anybody say me what is the molecule of energy? Quick, we have less time. Okay, it is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, it is ATP. The molecule of energy is ATP. Okay, so during respiration, whatever molecule of energy is produced, the name is ATP. Now, write three types of blood vessels. There are two types of blood vessels. Okay, mainly arteries and veins. And then these blood vessels get divided into fine tube-like structure. We call it as capillaries. One helps to take away blood from the heart, another brings blood to the heart, and the third one supply blood to the tissues. Okay, so these are the function: arteries, veins and capillaries. Now if you see transportation in plants take place by two ways. One is through xylem, which helps in the transport of water and mineral, and it's only in one direction, that is from lower to upward, from roots to stem, leaf, branches. Okay, and transportation in plants also take place from phloem, that is we call it as translocation, because they transport food. Okay, they helps in the transport of food, so that take place in all direction. It comes, the food will be stored. If it is stored in root, it has to come down. If it is stored in the fruit, it has to go up. If the leaves are in between, it has to take food up to store it in the fruit. So it's completely transport in all direction. Whereas xylem transport water and minerals only in one direction, that is from bottom to the top. Okay. Now here you see water in the roots enter due to. Water in the roots enter due to. Normally what happens, water actually is absorbed, roots actually absorb the salt. Okay, roots actually absorb salt from the soil. So when it absorbs these ions, these salts from the soil, when they absorb this salt, along with that they absorb the water also. So difference in the concentration of ion between the root on the soil helps in the absorption of water. Okay, so that will be the answer. Now next, plants absorb water from the soil. Explain how it is taken and transported from the soil. How it is taken and transported from the soil. We have seen how it is taken, right? Along with the ions, water also is absorbed. And how it is transported? It is transported due to transpirational pull. You have to remember the answer, due to transpirational pull. What happens actually? Leaf loss of water. Due to evaporation, water is lost from the leaf. When this water is lost, the water has to be supplied to the leaf constantly. Okay. So when the water is lost through transpiration, there's a pull created, and that pull helps the water to come up. Okay. Now, when we are injured and start bleeding, it requires the loss of water from the system to be minimized. What will happen if blood loss is not stopped? Obviously, the person will die, because ultimately all the blood will be lost from the body. Is there anything the system do to prevent our loss? Yes, the system helps in blood clotting and prevent the loss. Okay. Now the last topic we'll discuss, that is excretion in humans. Excretion in humans take place through kidney and the excretory system. So what kidney does is, kidney helps to filter the blood. Okay, it has kidney, then kidney helps to filter the blood. Blood passes through the ureter, filter the blood, and then after filtering the blood, the urine formed, okay, is called urine. Urine passes through the ureter and it gets stored in the urinary bladder. Once the urinary bladder fills, we feel an urge to urinate, and through urethra, the urine get expelled. So who filters the blood? Can you just tell me, in the kidney, who filters the blood? Kidney as a whole doesn't filter the blood. Okay, inside the kidney, there are very minute structure that helps in the filtering of blood. Okay, we have seen that the kidney actually helps in the formation of urine. Inside the kidney, if you see, this is the inside of a kidney. Inside the kidney, there are very minute structure, and that minute structure are known as nephrons. Okay, that minute structures are known as nephrons, and this nephron helps to filter the blood. You can see there's a cup-like structure, which we call it as Bowman's capsule. Inside that, there are small blood vessels, which we call it as glomerulus. The blood brings, okay, the blood vessels bring blood to the glomerulus. From here, the blood gets filtered, okay, and after filtration, so you can see first the blood gets filtered. So that is known as ultrafiltration. But when filtration takes place, right, lot amount of water will be there. Lot amount of essential nutrients will be there. So all this has to be reabsorbed. Okay, all this cannot be secreted as urine, because ultimately these are all important for the body. So these are to be reabsorbed again. So what happens is, when the filtrate passes through the small tubes, a lot of reabsorption take place. 99% of the filtrate get reabsorbed. 99% of water, all other essential minerals get reabsorbed. Hence, you can see all the blood vessels are surrounding these tubules. Okay, they are surrounding the tubule because reabsorption is taking place. So once it is reabsorbed, the tubules also secrete some unwanted, like hydrogen ions, okay, like extra sodium and all get secreted from the tubules also. So secretion also take place, selective secretion take place here, and then it comes into the collecting duct. In the collecting duct, whatever is still, if there is water in the urine, it get absorbed, and the urine get very concentrated, containing less amount of water, high amount of salts. Okay. So this is how it takes place. Noted this 4 points you noted: ultrafiltration, reabsorption, secretion, and absorption of water. This four things takes place inside a kidney during the formation of urine. Okay, so once it comes to the collecting duct, the urine directly goes into the ureter. From the ureter, it goes into the urinary bladder and it gets stored there. No absorption, nothing takes place in the urinary bladder. Okay, it just gets stored there. And once it gets filled, it is expelled out. Okay. The interesting thing is our body, filter 180 liters of water every day. The kidney filters 180 liters of water. Just imagine if you guys go and, urinate 180 liters of water, it's a very huge amount, right? Hence, 99% of the urine that is filtered is absorbed by the body. Okay, only that 1% of that 180 liter, that is only 1%, somewhere around 1.5 liter get expelled outside. Okay. Now, excretion in plant is, there's no, special excretory organ like human and animals in plants, but they have certain mechanism. One, the gases get expelled through stomata, lenticels, etc. Then water get expelled through transpiration or through guttation. Guttation means you might have seen in colocasia or some leaves. During morning, they have small dews in them, right? The small droplets of water. That's because the excess water during night time, it's released as water droplets. That we call as guttation. In higher grades, in 11th grade, you will read it in detail. And then they don't have excretory organs. So what they do, they store it. Okay, they store it in the form of resin, gums, latex. We know rubber, which is very essential for us all to make this wheels, to make rubber bands, to make different different things. We use rubber a lot. So this latex is actually a waste material in plants, and this waste material plants store it in their dead cells, and we use it for our economic purpose. Okay. Now here you can see, name the organs that form the excretory system in human beings. What are the organs? Kidneys, ureter, urinary bladder, and urethra. These four organs form the excretory system in human beings. Okay, in which kidney is the one who filters the blood. Okay. Describe in brief how urine is formed in human body. So when it is said describe in brief, write all the four things. One is ultrafiltration. Ultrafiltration take place, that is, the blood is filtered. Okay, in the Bowman's capsule, in the nephron, the blood is filtered. Second thing, reabsorption take place. Reabsorption means the water, whatever excess water, whatever excess nutrients has been filtered, those are reabsorbed. Third thing, secretion. Okay, still there are some unwanted things. Tubes helps to secrete it. Okay, secretion take place. And the final one is absorption of water. The excess amount of water get absorbed again in the collecting tubules, and then the concentrated urine is excreted. So this was about the chapter. I hope you all understood the chapter well, and you're very prepared for the coming first term exam. Students, any doubt here? We'll have this 5 minutes of discussion on any doubts. Do you have any doubts? You can just pin me. And I think you all have understood what are the important, questions, what are the important topics here that are being again and again asked. Okay, so these are the topics you have to mainly focus on. So any doubts you can ask me. The chat box is open. You can ask any doubts you can ask. Okay, if not, you all can go freshen up and get ready for the next class. Okay, thank you, students. Let's meet for the next class next day in Manorama Horizon. Okay, have a great evening. Bye, everyone.